Okay, little technical glitch, but we're going now. I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, hereby inform all attendees that a video and audio recording will be made of the meeting. First up on the agenda, we have a Form A from Patrick at Taconic Land.
Yeah, my name is Patrick McColgan. I'm the land surveyor representing Pierre Duan, who owns property at 395 Laurel Street. It's the ice cream shop in an antique place here. And what he's proposing to do is he has a lot of different things going on this property. There's cabins down in back. There's the store up in the front. And so what he's proposing to do is draw this into 3 lots. The cabins in the back, as far back as I can take it, appear to be before subdivision control law. So there's an exemption that allows for cutting off building that existed before subdivision control law that doesn't constitute a subdivision. And so when we're looking at this, we're looking at trying to separate it out with the best uses for what's there. And so we end up putting the shop and stuff on a lot up front, on what we're calling lot number 3. And all the cabins we're putting on lot number 2. And then there's a vacant lot further south, that's number 1. It's kind of complex with all the zoning, 3 different zones on the property here. But
Yeah. Just looking at it here.
so just trying to separate it out with the best uses for what he's got is looks like what we come up with is probably the best that we could come up with.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter. I'm trying to figure it out here.
So Patrick, I've looked at this a little bit this afternoon. We didn't get it until this afternoon, but I did spend some time with it. I'm going to ask you about lot 1, the southernmost lot.
Sure.
It looks like the eastern portion of it is zoned R20 and the western portion, I don't know how it's zoned. Oh, RA, I guess. What is the length of the eastern roadside boundary there?
You have L2 and then you have 9670, so you have to add them together. So I'm pretty sure we made it meet the zoning requirements for frontage in the R20 zone.
So Patrick, I read the bylaws requiring 100 feet in the R2 zone or the R20 zone. You're within a few inches. I just wondered if you knew that, and if so, why you made that choice.
Yeah, we got 101 foot of frontage on lot number 1. You got to add L2 to that. So you got 9670 plus 4.3, which is 101.
Where's the 4.3?
L2.
Yeah, L2 is a pin,
Yeah, there's a pin there. Yep.
and the pin is a couple of feet from the corner.
From the highway monument. Yep.
And where's that extra couple of feet marked on? You notated on the map?
Yep. Hey, Buck, if you go down to the lower left, there's usually a legend down there with all the L's on it. It's somewhere on there. Patrick can guide you to it.
No, you got to go up. It's up the top.
Oh, okay.
By the north arrow.
Yeah, okay, because there's always somewhere on there where it shows you what that, there you go. There's the dimensions
There
right
you
there
go.
for all the L numbers. Thank you.
I mean, the
So-
frontage.
Oh, I see. Okay. So L2 is a course?
Yes.
And
It's
it's
part of,
for-
it's part of lot number 1.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Can you, just as not as a real question of substance, but I'm curious, what is the blue line? Is that the creek?
There is a little intermittent thing there from the drainage from the highway. There's a culvert that comes under the highway and it drains, but it's kind of like intermittent. It's wet, but it's sometimes wet.
Okay,
So
good.
it's drainage from the highway.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. I don't know, the multiple buildings on the one lot, I'm trying to figure out, think about.
I was initially troubled by this, but I think he's actually relying on two different things. One is, as I understand it, Patrick, lot 2, you're relying on the idea in the bylaw that says that if there was a building on the proposed lot at the time that the subdivision bylaw was enacted, it can be subdivided without approval. It's not a subdivision.
Correct.
And then for lot 1, you're just doing the standard Form A thing of you got 100 foot of frontage and you don't need to rely on any language in the bylaw. Is that right?
That's correct, but it also doesn't make lot 1 buildable either. It still has to meet a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right,
Before it can be buildable.
right. Buck, does that help?
Yeah, it's kind of like just a pre-existing non-conforming then, similar.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That,
You know, we try to separate it out with the building up front being business and being what it is, and the cabins kind of being like probably residential. He's definitely going to have to do some work on the cabins. I think he didn't use them because they were lead paint. It used to be associated, I think, with the Black Swan Inn, which is across the way for a long, long time. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot to be done.
how about this setback right here, Patrick?
Yeah, we can't meet that setback, but we tried to meet the setback for the building up front.
Mhm.
We tried to do the best we could do with the topography and what's there and making it usable for each building and what they have.
So is that a dwelling, would
It
you
is,
say,
there
or
is a
an
cabin,
outbuilding?
yeah, it has a foundation under it and everything, yeah.
So it's not a utility building?
No,
Anyone? What do we do with that? I mean, it's all, the whole mess is already non-conforming with that line in there. That being multiple buildings too.
Well, it's not a subdivision. I guess the
No.
division of lot 2 is not a subdivision. Lot 1 may be a subdivision, but it can be accomplished without review because of the Form A rules. So I don't know if we can say anything about where
Right.
Pierre puts his line. If it's not a subdivision, what authority do we have?
Gordon, you have any input on this?
Well, I think if they ever go to do any work on that particular one that's in the side set, the enforcement officer is going to have to look at chapter 40, what's one of the 81 statute subdivision control, I forget which one, that allows them to do this, and see whether it's, what status it gets. It may actually, by doing this, gain pre-existing non-conforming status, possibly. I think Patrick could probably address that better, in which case they may or may not have to come before the board for a finding or some kind of permit hearing if they ever want to do anything of substance with that. But he's in a better position as the surveyor, the registered surveyor, to talk about that exemption in the general law, in the subdivision general law.
That's, yeah. And that's what the argument he's making too, is that it's all predates any subdivision law or zoning. So,
Yeah, but the fact is, he is creating a nonconformity, but it may be allowed under that specific area of subdivision control law, which we adopt in full.
Yep.
So again, his explanation of that and how that structure will be treated in the future, that's something that he's best to address, and I don't want to get in the way of that.
want to take that, Patrick? Help us out here?
yeah, I think what we're looking at is, to be quite honest with you, chicken and the egg kind of thing. And where it's not a subdivision is okay, it's not a subdivision. But what he can do with it, to be quite honest with you, is gonna have to filter through the permitting process and whatever he decides to do with it. And he may very well find that he may have to remove that building or do something else
Yep.
to it, or maybe nothing, I don't know. The law is not clear, but the law was made so that people didn't lose the investment that they had in a building that predated subdivision. And what it basically says is just do the best job you can do with cutting it out and being able to convey it away. And so I've seen where, yeah, it doesn't meet the setbacks, but we just do as best we can do.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions?
I'll move
Peg?
approval.
No,
I'll move-
Peg has a question. Go ahead, Peg.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have a question. I don't have a problem with this at all.
Okay. Peter, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the Form A as based on Lot 2 being not a subdivision as defined in our bylaw, and Lot 1 as having sufficient frontage to avoid subdivision review.
Okay. Is there a second? Who was that?
I'll second. Okay,
Oh.
fine.
Matt got the second. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Peg,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, thank you, Patrick.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
So. Moving on, 145 Housatonic Street. This is, as we all know, this is the new Starbucks building. And what has happened is their initial site plan was presented. Let me get down to it here. And then there was much discussion about the neighbor's entrance, line of sight and all that. And then a transformer ended up in the final how it is now. And we never saw an amendment on the site plan review process or any of that. Sir, any representatives from, I see one from Eversource. Sam, are you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sam.
I'm
Okay.
I'm here representing the applicant, and I can if I can share my screen, that would I have a
Oh, okay, I'll stop sharing. You go ahead.
okay, hold on.
And you recall the business next door was very concerned about the line of sight, and we endorsed their concerns. Yep.
So just for the record, just so it's formal, my name's Sam Alfronti, civil engineer working for Solely Engineering with offices out of 11 Vanderbilt in Norwood, Mass. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Lee Realty Ventures, regarding the concern that was brought to our attention. It was brought to our attention actually this morning
Okay.
regarding the transformer and the location of said transformer. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the site, Housatonic Street, north of the Mass Pike. Housatonic River's right there. This is kind of a closer up. I believe the property of concern is the hair studio next door. I think it's 135 Housatonic Street.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But this morning we ran through a quick analysis, and we did the intersection site distance both for that property and our property with the transformer shown. I have blow up pictures of it. So on top screen, you'll see the 135 Housatonic Street. And then on the bottom, it's the Starbucks site. And just to give everyone a little bit of background, this was, like I said, it was brought to our attention actually today. And what happened was during the permitting process, the applicant and Eversource, they did a site visit at the Friendlies, and they initially determined that the electrical panel that was existing would be sufficient for Starbucks services. And upon kind of when they started doing the renovation and doing the demolition inside, it was they realized that it wasn't up to Starbucks standards for their operations. Eversource kind of made a, from what we understand, they made a field determination on the location of the transformer, and that's kind of where it was placed, and for that reason. But like I said, I have some pictures of Google images, Google driving, and then this is kind of the approximate location of the transformer. So.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for me to speak?
Sure, Ann, why don't you let us know the issues you've been having with your customers?
Okay, so when we're pulling out of the driveway, well, first and foremost, that was exactly what I asked not to happen, was to put anything tall at the end of the driveway. And not only is it tall, it's like 3 times the size as the state one that's already there. So, you know, whoever made that decision certainly didn't take me into consideration. And you can show that line of sight all you want, but it's like looking through a fence trying to get out the end of that driveway. First, you got the big transformer that Starbucks just put in. Then you got a little window, and then you got to look past the tree and the transformer that the state put in. And I'm telling you, your car nose is sticking out before you can see whether you can pull right or left there, because there's so much obstruction. And quite frankly, I've looked at numerous Starbucks, and not one of them has a transformer at the end of their property. So I'm, you know, first of all, it could have been put anywhere else except right there. So they had absolutely no concern for my customers. I mean, I have a lot of customers coming in and out of there every day, and some of them are not young. I mean, this is, I think it's just despicable what they've done. Especially that was the one thing that I asked that they don't do. And they put it right there. And that's solely engineering. They were there at that meeting when I asked for that. So I don't know who made that decision, but it was terrible, and it was done without the town's approval. So
Thanks. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead, Bob.
So Sam, that's really where the issue that the planning board has is this was not denoted on the original site plan that was approved.
Correct. And like I was going to say, we apologize for not bringing this to your attention. If we had known, we would have
You did.
brought it to your attention. And at the same time, we understand it's difficult and it's kind of backwards process, but it's a construction related, during the permitting of this, this kind of issue was not known. And it kind of was resolved ultimately in the field with the utility providers kind of guidance as well.
Right, but that location could have been different, and it still should have had a amendment to your site plan. So it's basically not how we're looking at it. It's not approved. Everyone, anyone else disagree on the board?
But
Yeah, go ahead.
Dave Forrest.
Yeah,
I went down last week and went into the hair salon and drove back out. Yes, the transformer is in your way when you approach the sidewalk. But I put my car tires, just stopped them short of the sidewalk. So that means the nose of the car is still on the sidewalk. And the line of sight actually wasn't all that bad. I could see, it was a minimum of 300 feet that I could see looking towards the turnpike entrance, unlimited looking up towards town. And also right now there is a temporary service, electrical service with supports on it. And once that's gone, I believe it's going to improve it a little more. So I'd like to have some other people take a look before we decide just how bad this is.
okay. Did anyone else been through there? Peter, Matt, Peg?
I have some other things I wanted to talk about, Buck. But
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
Sam, are you the supervising engineer on this project?
We permitted the project and brought it through design, and we've kind of been contracted as a time and material engineer during construction, just because it's not a full site construction. It's kind of more of a redevelopment renovation of the property, as you guys are.
So describe to me how it sounds like what you're saying is that somebody made this decision to put a transformer there. It wasn't you. You didn't know about it until today. And I want to understand how that's possible.
Like I said, we're not really on site really at all. So that's kind of where.
So you just turn over the plans and the approved permit, and then somebody else makes changes to it and doesn't inform you or us? And that's the way it works?
It's not the way it should work, no.
But it is the way it worked this time.
This transformer, I mean, it was
Yeah.
certainly, like I said, it's kind of we apologize if we had known. This is typically how we like to do it the correct way, and this is definitely a backwards process as it came up during construction. And it was kind of from what we understand, a last minute decision to get this kind of installed. And like I said, during permitting, they didn't know about this issue. I know I'm reiterating myself, but
Yeah. Can I ask Dave Forrest? Dave, I don't know if you mind me asking you, but since you were there, the way I'm looking at this picture that Sam has up, it looks like somebody driving down the driveway would for a time not be able to see to the left, to the south. But as they approach the road, I would think a normal person would stop and slow and stop and take a look, pretty much in either, maybe in the position that Sam's graph shows here, or maybe even farther out so that you could see beyond what has been described as the state's transformer. Do you agree with me on that? That would be a normal driving pattern?
I do. As I said, but I was really taken back at how far you could see looking south towards Turnpike, because I expected it to be a whole bunch worse. And as long as you haven't got your nose out in traffic, you're pretty much protected. And it might be, as I say, it might be a little better once they take this temporary service out of there and the support for it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you mind me asking you a question, but you heard my question to Dave. Let's suppose that I'm not saying this is my view, but suppose I took the view that, yeah, it is an obstruction. It wasn't part of the plan, but a normal prudent driver slowing down to check the traffic wouldn't be really much impaired by that. What would be your counter argument to that position?
Well, of course, I disagree
Okay,
because I pull out of there every day. So I have to I have to look left before the transformer, after the transformer, and then hope there are no pedestrians crossing. And then we got to stick our nose out to see past the stage, and there's a tree there. And now Starbucks just planted all this shrubbery that I sure as hell hope doesn't grow tall. Because it's a mess right there. And you know what? They put that transformer the easiest place they could have put it. They had no regard for anybody else except the easiest place they could have put it.
Sam, can you enlighten us about how that was located? Do you know enough to describe what the
Nicole here, too.
process was?
Peter, we have an Eversource representative here.
Oh, okay. All right, good. I'll wait.
Nicole could probably address that.
I'll wait. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Nicole, you're up.
So at the start of this project, it was a toss between the existing 400 amps that was there previously feeding the old Friendlies, and Starbucks wanted 600 amps, and per our policies and procedures, if you go over 400 amps, you have to have a pad mounted transformer. They had already run conduit from the building to the existing pole that was there, intending to just refeed the building. It was already paved by the time we got there. So we were trying to help the customer by doing the closest transformer location so they wouldn't have to reroute and dig up the entire driveway. And just so you know, that existing box that was there, that's actually the town of Lee's for the streetlights.
I know that, we know that.
It's not a transformer, it's actually a streetlight control box.
Well, Nicole, could I ask, could you describe a little more detail how it wound up exactly where it is and not farther back from the street?
So
Was that where the cables were underground and you just attached the cable, built a transformer over the cables?
there were cables that ran from the pole to the building, the existing service. The wires that were in the ground from the Friendlies weren't to code for the size service that they needed. So they were hoping to reuse, I don't know if they replaced the cable or reuse the cable, or not the cable, the conduit. But we tried to intercept as close as possible to where those conduits were placed before we got there.
Were you aware at any time that Ann's studio next door was concerned about sight lines?
No, we were not. We were never informed of that. And I did have this transformer sighted out with 2 supervisors. I had the line supervisor and I had the engineering supervisor out there on site with me the day that we marked this transformer out.
Was the engineering supervisor from Sam's firm or a different firm?
No, that was an Eversource engineering supervisor. It was actually my boss.
I see. So the Eversource people decided on the location, hoping to accommodate the new site owner.
Correct.
Thank you. I'm done, Buck.
Aye, okay. These are one of the dreadful ones. I mean, what we're looking at here is the safety aspect. And option A, we ignore it and it just goes on. B, we do not allow a CO until they move the transformer. Any other options here?
Can I speak up?
Go ahead, Sam.
I just wanted to kind of clarify one further thing. I know the triangles that are shown on the screen here might be kind of potentially confusing. If I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the site distances, but the visibility from like an engineering practical standpoint, it is compliant with all like engineering practices and regulations, Mass DOT, ASHTO. That's what this is showing with the 35 mile per hour design speed up Housatonic Street. So I understand that the abutters
Sam?
concern and
May I say one thing?
Yep.
So that's all well and good that you can see down there when there's no cars there. But what happens when there's a line of cars at Starbucks waiting to pull out? And now I can only see as far as that car. Now you can
I mean,
see that
honestly,
car
Ann,
because,
that would
happen at a
that
lot of.
issue would be there anyway without the transformer.
well, yes, maybe it will, but he's saying I can see 335 feet down there. And I said, yeah, until there's a car there.
Sam, you think we could get, but I think, let's go to Dave Forrest. I thought I saw his hand up.
Okay.
Matt's had his hand up too.
Okay, Matt, go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I didn't think you wanted to hear from me. You were just skipping.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I got a lot of people on here.
I can appreciate Sam's explanation on these jobs. Things happen, and Eversource is out there with the. I can just totally see it, and the lack of communication happens all the time. But I drove down there a couple times, and I actually talked to one of Ann's staff members who said, she goes, it's scary to pull out there. And she said, you have to go slow past the new transformer and peek in between the two transformers. And yes, Dave Forrest is correct. There's a temporary power there that when that comes down, you'll be able to see better. But I just feel like the transformer, couldn't they have just moved it over behind at least the friendly sign or the old friendly sign, at least, because there's already something there, and given a wider gap. But I just feel like in a perfect world, I'd like the state to take down that tree. I think tonight we should send a letter. We should definitely send a letter to the state or make a phone call and ask if they can cut down that tree. Because your nose does stick out there when you pull out, and that tree is a hindrance. But you can see in between the transformers. I'll give you that, but it's like a game, it's like not easy. And I just think that transformer should have been moved. I don't expect them to move it to the back of the property, but at least to where the fence gets to be 6 feet. That would have been what, 50 feet down? And then it wouldn't have been so ugly to Ann's customers. It would have helped the safety issue. It may not have solved it, but it would have helped it. And I just think it's ugly. I mean, it is ugly if you drive in there, and it's just like a wall of green, and it just does not help the safety issues. And I think just think of the people that are going there and getting their hair done. Not everyone is so good at looking. I don't want to say there's a lot of older people getting their hair done, but I imagine there is. I just think it's not worth it. I know it's a pain and a lot of money and a pain to move it, but I'm gonna recommend that transformer be moved down to where that first car is in this picture we're looking at, to put it to where the fence is going to hide it. So that's totally out of there. And then I'm also going to recommend to the board, or motion to the board, that we send a letter to the state asking for safety issues to have that tree cut down on the corner. I just think it's a safety issue. The staff member that I talked to at Ann's said, her nose is out on the sidewalk, before she really gets to go, and she gets scared pulling out of there. She said it'll probably be better once all the workers are gone, of course, but it's still tricky. So I that's my feeling. I think out of respect to Ann, who's got a business next door, who voiced her opinion up front, and said, please don't put anything there. We said, okay, don't put anything there. And now something's there. We were as clear. We were clear. I mean, we already kind of sacrificed letting the dumpsters be out front, a structure being out front on the other side of the property. And we understood their argument, the safety issue. And just for the record, I think we might have made a mistake against our bylaws. Our bylaw in chapter 5, I believe, says no structures out in the front yard setback. I think it's 5.1 or 5.2. So we might have already gone against our bylaws on that. Plus, people are mad that the dumpsters are out front. But I can see that argument at least. There's not a lot of room in the back for those dumpsters. So I'm okay with that. But this transformer's got to be moved as far as I'm concerned. Simple, black and white.
Bob, can I say something?
Yeah, okay. Well, Sam, and then we'll get to Dave.
Just respectfully, I think a lot of existing concerns are being brought up from board members as well as Ann, that the actual transformer that's kind of being questioned is not really impacting or at all the visibility from a sight distance standpoint. I completely understand the tree. I completely understand the existing telecommunication cabinet or electrical cabinet that's there, but the actual transformer being questioned, the impact of visibility.
It's not making it easier, Sam. That's all I would say. And I apologize to interrupt, but it's not making it easier. I would say that. If anything, it's making it harder. I agree that some people might be able to see through that and be okay, and there's a clear line, but it's not easier. And I don't even care about that reason. We did not want anything high on that corner. And what do we have? We've got a 6-foot ugly green wall. And there's no other way around it. It's got to be moved as far as I'm concerned. And I have no qualms about it. I hate to have them spend the money to do it, but the project's lack of communication between their people is not our problem. That's not our problem. Sam, you would have brought it to our attention if you had known, and you didn't know, and that's not your fault. These things happen. But if it was brought to our attention, we would have said, no, don't place it there. I believe we would have. And this is one of those cases where I think we have to stand by our business people next door, our abutters, and protect them. And I just think we have to move that generator up to where it's hidden behind the fence. Not saying the whole way back to the property, just up to where the fence gets higher. Maybe Ann's customers will just see the top of it, but the fence will hide most of it.
Okay, Dave.
Sorry, Sam.
Okay, first of all, I only wish I had enough hair to get my hair done, so I have to start with that. But I agree with Ann. When I was there was no pedestrian traffic, none. If you at an event, something happening on any street, and there's a lot of people on that sidewalk, that's where I think it could get a little messy. Because now you got one more thing you have to watch out for. I have a question for Nicole. Could we put that transformer in a pole, even if you had to put a bigger base to hold the pole to support the size of the transformer? And lastly, with Matt, I don't know if I'd want to go try to have that tree cut down. I think you might find a whole new group that loves trees. But let's go to Nicole, see if she can give me an answer on if we can put a pole in that's capable of holding the transformer to provide what they need.
No, unfortunately, anything over 400 amps has to be fed from a pad mounted transformer.
Okay, how about putting in a vault then?
It's we don't have what do they call them? We don't have transformers
Subterranean.
that go underground anymore. These are, unfortunately, yes, they are big, but that's what is needed to provide the amperage, and that's actually one of our smaller ones. I mean, it's the smallest 3-phase service that I could give them. We can move it up towards the car that was there. But I think it's gonna make a mess electrically under the ground.
Well, it's something, I agree, something should be done. I mean, this is something that's hopefully gonna be here for a long time.
Right.
So we gotta deal with it now than to
Yeah.
deal with it later.
So they would have to lose a couple of parking spots because we do need clearance around the transformer for our safety reasons. We need at least 10 feet in front of the doors for that transformer. And that was one of the reasons why we had placed it there, because there was nothing there originally. But the sign had been there for Friendlies. And we were trying to use existing space that was not deemed to be a parking space, and an up close one at that.
Even if you protected
Prime
this
parking.
with, if you protected this transformer with bollards, you couldn't just move it.
It
Even if
has
you
to
want half
have
the
10,
distance of it.
it
Go ahead.
has to have 10 feet of clear, unobstructed lines in front of it. We go in for our protection with 10-foot sticks to do our switching. So yes, bollards would be nice, but it would also need some clear space around it. So they would
Nicole?
literally lose 2 parking spaces.
Nicole,
Yes, Ann.
I know you have to have 10 feet. Well, that thing is supposed to be 10 feet from my property line, and it's about 4 feet. So you didn't really take that into consideration when you were placing it there. And I know you didn't do it personally, but
No, I did not.
that should be at least 10 feet from my property. It's 4 feet. So you need clearance. Well, I need clearance.
Right.
Yeah. So I
I'm
mean,
wondering
whoever
if the-
decided that certainly didn't check out Lee's zoning laws.
We did not look at zoning laws. We just rely on our experience of what we have. And usually if it is something in the town's right away, we have to petition it. But unfortunately, this isn't in a right away of the town's taking. It's on private property.
Gordon, you all set, Nicole?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it the electrical meter box that's causing more of an issue than the actual transformer? I know the transformer is ugly, but I'm wondering if it's actually the box that's been there is
Well,
causing more of an issue.
All of it,
Well, I can't
It's
do anything
all-
about the electrical box.
all of
That's
it.
that's
You
actually
know-
the town of Lee's. When the town of Lee put in the decorative lights,
Yeah.
that's their metering point for the decorative lights.
So all those green boxes up and down Housatonic are Lee's.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Actually,
I appreciate
oh,
you.
excuse me, Matt, because I actually called the state about those. That's a state road.
But it's the
Those are
town's-
not Lee. Those are state boxes. I called the state about that.
Well, that's here nor there. Gordon, you have something for us?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I think this is a great conversation, but in some ways it's an off the record kind of conversation in a way. If the board feels that there's a violation of the site plan, then you need to actually let them know that in writing and then post the event, maybe even publish it in the newspaper. You need to have an official, hearing where all this is on the record, and then you are able, in that situation, you're able to take a vote, and it's a public record vote as to whether or not you believe they're in compliance, not in compliance, and you can order them to move it. You don't have to have this discussion. I mean,
Okay.
it's nice to have the discussion, but you have the right to order it moved, but you're only going to have the right to order it moved if it's under an actually published and noticed, public hearing. So again, just to throw that out there,
Why
if you
couldn't
want
our,
something to be official, that's what you're gonna have to do.
why couldn't our enforcement officer tell them to move it?
He could, and then they could appeal that. But
Yeah.
you cannot, that's very true, Matt, because it's not in compliance with the site
Not in
plan.
compliance. So we don't
But
need
you
a
can
hearing
also
right
give
now.
them, you can also give them an official notice, and maybe you've already done that, that they are not in compliance with their approved site plan. And to amend that site plan, they need to come back to you. So even if the enforcement officer tells them they're in violation, where are they going to move it to unless they come back to you for an approval on where they're going to move it?
Yeah.
That's my point, I guess. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, Peg? You're muted, Peg.
Okay, I'm still very, very concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chair Buck, about the safety of Housatonic Street. The playground, when there are different people, when they try to cross the street there a little ways up, it's pretty dangerous. And I'm very concerned about the safety. I concur that we probably should have a special hearing and get everything documented. It said, when they get down Housatonic Street, even to the corner of Park Street and Main Street, they get off the turnpike. They still think they're on the turnpike. I understand this. And they go very fast. It's a concern. And the Lee police, the state police have tried to get the speeders or whatever, but they can't be there all the time. And I feel that it's still very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And I hope we can maybe have a hearing and try to figure this out. And I understand, I must say, I was thrilled when Starbucks was coming to Lee. I thought it was a very good thing. But I do feel that the street is very dangerous, and people crossing the street, it's just pretty dangerous. And if we get a lot of people this summer and the tourists, I really feel that somehow we got to make this better. And maybe if we document it and try to go through it, that would be a good way to do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peg.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so, Peter?
Having listened to this, I'm really not sure how I would vote on a motion to move, to require the transformer to be moved tonight, but I think that Gordon is right. We're not procedurally ready for that. I do think it's clear to me that they did not follow the site plan that they had approved with us. And it's their risk if they go ahead and make changes and they don't consult with the people who know what the town requires. That's Eversource's risk, and that's Starbucks' risk. So I think at the very minimum, we should have a hearing, issue notice to them that we're having a hearing about whether their building as constructed is in violation of their plan. And then personally, I would hope that they would come back with respond to that by showing up at the hearing with a proposed amendment to the site plan, which relocates the transformer. And I'm not convinced that completely that Matt's idea of moving it back 30 feet or so is really necessary. I think probably a smaller translation would suffice, maybe to the other side of the sign perhaps, and give up one parking spot instead of 2 or 3. I'm not sure about that, but I'd like to hear what the owner says and the engineer says after they've had a chance to realize that they've got to do something, and hear their recommendation about what the best course might be. So that's where I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I guess I'd be looking for a motion that we proceed with the hearing process to inform
You want
owners.
to
Yes.
hear from Gordon first?
Is that new one, Gordon, or
That's
your
his
hand's
old
still
hand. I
up?
think that's his old hand.
His old hand?
I
New hand or old
apologize
hand?
that I forgot to lower it. I apologize.
Okay, okay. You want me to make a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We
I
want-
move,
Yeah, go ahead.
I move that the board find that the construction at the Starbucks site is inconsistent with the approved plan, and that we schedule a public hearing to determine whether a penalty should be imposed by the enforcement officer. Does that make sense, Gordon? Is that the right thing?
I don't know.
I think we,
Penalty.
I think we could just ask, can we have a motion tonight to have the enforcement officer issue notification? And then do another one, and then do another motion to, or actually, isn't it up to them to come to us for an amended site plan when they're
Yeah,
ready?
you're right. You're right.
Recommend.
Matt.
Yeah,
That would be better.
and recommend that they come in for an amended site plan.
And we'll wait till they're ready, because they're gonna have to do some plans and.
You want to try and make a substitute motion, Matt? I'll withdraw if you do.
Please.
Sure.
Yeah.
You may
Sure.
still want the enforcement officer to notify them that they're in violation of their site plan. That gives them an official heads up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we were discussing. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we notify the enforcement officer to notify on record the Starbucks project is in violation of their approved site plan. That's it.
And to schedule a hearing.
That's up to them. They're not gonna get their CO if they don't.
and they'll
You have to-
incur penalties if they
Yeah.
don't.
They'll have to come in. It's up to them when they wanna.
Okay,
And then once we get the paperwork, then we can schedule a public hearing.
okay.
Do you want to
Second
include
on
in
that?
do you want to include, Matt, in the motion that it's with regard to the transformer
Sure,
location?
thank you.
So Beth will show that as part of the motion, and she'll also show that my motion was withdrawn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Peg? Unmute.
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan? Aye. Sorry, Sam, the ball's in your court now. It's gonna be.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a
Can
good night.
I'd like to make a motion and, I don't know how to go, but I'd still like to make it for the record. I'd like to make a motion that we notify our state contact to ask them to look at cutting down the tree on that corner of Ann's Delgran's business at 135 Housatonic, I think it is.
Yes.
Housatonic Street.
Yep.
I would like them to look at that for safety concerns. So that is my motion.
And the motion is to make a request of the State Highway Department Regional Office. Matt, is that it?
Yeah, look at cutting down that tree for safety reasons.
Is there a second?
No.
Okay,
Sorry, Matt.
that's okay. I wanted to make it.
Yeah, I think the tree is equally as in a tough situation in there.
Well, the tree me driving out of there, the tree looks like a safety concern to me, but
Okay.
I agree, Matt. The tree is just as bad as the big green box. Okay,
Okay. All right. Motion
thank you.
dies on the floor. Thank you, Ann. And
Thank
we'll
you
be in
very
touch.
much. Okay, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have sign permit for Sitco on Housatonic
Yay.
Street,
gas station, yay.
gas station. There it is. Let me look. Now, price pod can be Price spot signs for any gas station shall not have a combined area exceeding 20 square feet. Shall be set back 10 feet from the road.
This
And
is
this
40
is
square
their-
feet.
What's that?
This is 40 square feet.
The price, I'm looking at the price pod first.
Oh,
Yeah. Freestanding sign, right, first?
so we have one structure, right?
Yeah,
And you're saying that there's one standard for the Citgo part and one standard for the.
there
price-
is. I believe so.
Okay,
Let's see, if you go to 77D. And they can be on the same post or pylon as a freestanding sign.
so they're good on that. That's 15 square feet in their
Yep.
proposal. And the freestanding sign is 25 square feet.
Funny.
No, it'd be. Let me move things here. Yes, yes, you're right, 25. Yes, sir. And they're allowed what, 40?
What zone are we in?
CBC?
.48 square feet allowed.
Okay,
So they're good.
okay. Accept the motion to endorse.
Is there any problem with the height?
Yeah, I was wondering that one, but I'm not sure. I'm just thinking around town.
I don't like it that, that there are very modest signs up and down the road, in that area that are a few feet.
Oh. Yes, it is within, let's see, 78B, C4. The highest point of a freestanding sign may be no greater than 25 feet.
Okay. Yeah, but that's good.
They
I'll move endorsement then.
Second,
second. Matt seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Peter,
Aye.
Matt,
aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, approval of minutes.
I think they're great, except I have a couple of suggestions. Should I go forward, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
In the public hearing on the zoning bylaws, page 1, in the 4th paragraph, it begins with member Blum stated, number 1. The next sentence says number 2 is eliminating obsolete BM. I want to take out BM and insert the words reference to the BM zone. So it would read number 2 is the elimination of the reference to the, is eliminating the obsolete reference to the BM zone.
Okay,
And my second suggestion is on page 3. In the discussion of the sign bylaws, near the bottom, about halfway through the sign bylaws section, it says alternate members stated. That would be the third paragraph. And I suggest adding the word Bailey before stated.
I think it's there, isn't it? Right here?
My draft says alternate members stated.
That nobody has the right to put
Oh, I
anything.
see. I guess you and I have different versions. Okay, it's fixed in yours. Then
Okay.
I'll be silent on that one then. Good.
Okay.
Just one.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second,
Actually-
I'll move it subject to that one correction on page
Okay,
1.
moved, seconded by Matt. Further discussion, hearing none, roll call vote. Peter,
Aye.
Matt,
aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, any topic chair could not reasonably anticipate. We got an email about our sign bylaw that's coming up for town meeting on Thursday from the ACLU. Peter, do you want to share that
Yeah.
or
Sure.
let me
I
stop
received-
sharing? And
I
you
received
can,
I received an email this afternoon unexpectedly from Ruth Borquin, who is the senior attorney, I think is her title, for the ACLU of Massachusetts. And apparently she's been talking to somebody in town, she didn't say whom, who reported to her that somebody said at Babytown meeting that the ACLU had approved this draft. And I don't recall saying that myself, and I don't recall anybody else saying that. So I wrote back to her to say that that's not true. We did say that we had received, requested and received comments from the ACLU, and that we've reviewed the comments and we've accepted many of them, but not all of them. And that's what I remember the discussion being at town meeting. So I wrote back to her, but I also included in my response some further responses to her substantive remarks. And I don't know, Beth, can you put that up on your screen, or can somebody put up Ruth's? I can do it in a minute if you want.
I'm at home, so I'm on my personal computer,
All right.
unfortunately.
I'll do it then. It'll take me a minute, folks. Okay. Share screen. 2. You see it now? It's probably pretty small in front of you. Can you see it, folks?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So I discussed the first paragraph. She also writes, it seems the words on private property do not belong in the new and broadened definition of political sign, since the draft itself acknowledges that such signs will sometimes be on public property. Anyway, I wrote back to her at the end of my response and I said, this may be a good idea. I'll talk about it with the board tonight if I can. And then she goes on to complain about ambiguous language about the select board of the voters controlling signs on other public property without saying in advance, my words in advance, what is and is not allowed on such property. She calls it very problematic. And I just think I disagree with her here. I understand what she's trying to do. She's trying to prevent the case where a board of selectmen could discriminate against someone's signs, allowing signs that they like and disallowing signs that they don't like based on content. And I think she may even have a case or two that she can cite that makes this what she calls problematic. But I don't agree with her analysis and her recommendation. And I want to give you all a chance to know that the issue exists. I think that what we have is, I wrote back to her that we have a very authoritative statement that the use of town land is in the control of the selectmen. And I think, let me see if I can bring that up. Here's what I said. I said, I cannot tell what you think about signs on town property. I am strongly and authoritatively advised here that the use of town property is entirely in the discretion of the town and in particular the select board. I understand that allowing private use of town land is a legislative function delegated by state law. It seems you want the town to announce in advance ironclad rules concerning private signs on town land, thereby eliminating all possible future discretion. I understand the theoretical concern about possible abuse of discretion, but I think it is only a remote possibility that should await a particular set of facts. In practice, I expect that the town is highly unlikely to permit any private signs on town land, with the exception mentioned above for signs on the roadside or sidewalk side that are adjacent to the sign owner's property and not in the roadway or outside a sidewalk, but which are technically located on town land. I fail to see how any advanced articulation of our additional ironclad rules can be helpful to the town. Would you prefer an outright explicit ban on all privately owned signs on town land? Perhaps you can make a specific suggestion here that is workable, but which doesn't effectively repeal our sign bylaw or abrogate the town's ability to control its own property. And I wrote this is just my opinion, but I think that any exercise of property rights by the town over its own property could be accused of having this alleged failing. I mean, if we do put something in the bylaw about signs, there's nothing to say that the selectmen couldn't be, accused of being discriminatory in which groups are allowed to use the courthouse or in any of the things that they decide. So I just don't see that it's something we should have to deal with. But Buck, you got your hand up, so maybe I should stop here.
You're done. When you're done, I'd like to address
Okay.
when you're done.
All right. She also has an idea, and I think she's kind of confused about requiring permits and when permits are required. So I put a paragraph in here above the one I just read about what our strategy is here, and trying to explain to her that people can have on their property any sign with a permit that they could have as a business, plus any number of smaller signs. And I explained that my purpose in designing this was to try and avoid the Gilbert case, where somebody has a political sign that they want to post, but it's been classified another way, so they can't do it. But if it was classified a different way, they could do it. So that's just explanation. And then finally, at the end, I said I would discuss with you all the question of deleting private property from the definition. And after I've reviewed that, it does seem like a plausible suggestion. So if you like it, perhaps we can, I or somebody can make that amendment at town meeting. That's all. Buck.
Yeah. Well, I think she kind of addresses just what their recommendations that we did not want to endorse, right?
Yeah. Well, I still don't really understand fully what she thinks the rule ought to be about town property.
Well, I do. I know what they're going after. They want it open. They want, remember their original statements? They wanted it totally open.
Yeah, that may be what she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't think we're ready for that.
I think she might also be happy to have no signs ever for any reason, because that would be a sort of an ACLU approach of,
I can't have mine. You're not going to have yours.
I may have nothing, but nobody's got anything more.
Yeah. I mean, then that would take away any small town fun things that we can do. Where, you know, Founder's Day, you can't put up a sign for Founder's Day.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that would be too bad.
Well, I expect that since she's heard from somebody in town, I expect that we may hear about this at town meeting unexpectedly.
Well, bring your notes for your Supreme Court rulings and the and
I gotta hang this. I gotta hang that up. That's the only way I know to stop it from ringing. Okay,
But
so
how about private property? Which
yeah,
is that's in our definitions?
yeah.
Can we see that?
Here's the draft from my files. And this is the definition, the general definition of the sign subchapter 7. And a political sign is defined as a sign placed on private property and designed to influence voters or to influence any action, et cetera. So I think she's saying we could delete placed on private property. And
yeah,
and I don't think that does any harm.
No, I think that's right. And then
So I think I'll just, if you're okay with it, I'll just stand up and say, I have an amendment that I'm proposing at the suggestion from ACLU that
Yeah,
placed on private property and be deleted in both here and then also in the SGOD version of it.
okay. I think I have to do that as a rep.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, good.
Oh, I'll do that.
Yeah.
What was the other issue that at Baby Town meeting they were talking about that we might?
Well, there's in the
I think
enforcement section.
Cornelia got confused.
Yeah, I didn't give her a very good answer. There's a place where it says the enforcement officer shall cause to be removed a sign. And she wanted to say may remove a sign. And I gave a kind of a not very convincing argument why shall was better. And I think Jeremiah weighed in and said, well, you should say may if you mean may. So I think somebody's going to get up and say we should change shall to shall cause to be removed, should be deleted, and may should be inserted. And, you know, frankly, I don't think it makes much difference. I prefer it the way it is, actually, slightly, because I like the idea that if it's a violation, that the enforcement officer should go after it. And it's not a matter of choosing and picking and choosing which thing to enforce and which thing not to enforce, that the town is not saying, well, you know, if you find there's a violation and you want to go do something about it. I think it's better to sound like if you find a violation, you should enforce the bylaw. And that's what I think shall implies, but I don't really care.
May.
Gordon.
Okay. Gordon, there he is.
Yes, sir. Hi. Yeah, I think you should keep it as shall. It's not a big deal to say shall. If you say may, that opens, I think, the door to someone saying it's discretionary.
Yep.
And not mandatory. You want to keep it. If there is a problem, it's mandatory. It's got to be removed. Because, you know, we're involved in this because there was discretionary action taken in violation of the bylaw, but it was still discretionary. And I think keeping the word shall is directive, and they still have to do their due diligence, find out what's going on, notify people. I don't see shall as being a problem. I think you should keep it myself. Or if somebody at town meeting wants to do it, I don't think it should come from the planning board reps. I think it should come from outside of you. And I'm more than willing to stand up and say, you know, just what I told you. You know, then you're going to get, you know, you're going to get claims of discretionary enforcement. Who wants that?
Yeah, that's the fear. That's my fear, is that
so you keep it as shall.
Encourages discretionary enforcement. Yeah.
Right. And saying shall and I'll have it to be, it means that language, in answer to Cornelia's question, valid question. The answer is that the building official can then go do it themselves, or they can get someone else to do it for them. They can have a designee who can do it. That's all that it means, that it may cause it to be done by someone else. It
Right.
just means that the sign enforcement officer, the zoning enforcement doesn't physically have to go do the removal themselves.
But an assistant could do it.
Absolutely. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's some huge thing that they're gonna need a crane to take. I mean, who knows what somebody's gonna do with this? So I think that may cause it to be done is, or cause it to be done. I think you need to keep that language
Okay,
just in case. And that's the way actually the building code language is quite often. When it has to do with submission of plans, they can either transfer things or they can cause it to be transmitted. And there's never been a pushback or a problem about that. I think the language works.
thanks.
Okay.
That's
Gordon.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Any other discussions going into town meeting on this? I think I'd like a consensus vote that everyone's okay with the amendments we're gonna put forth. Could I get a motion on that?
Sure, I'll make the motion. I'll motion that the board readopts or adopts the new amendments.
Is that legal?
How was that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Is there a second, or I'm curious if this is even the right way to go about it, or just to a straw poll?
can't we just make little changes amongst the board?
Well,
Up to
I mean,
town
the-
meeting?
No.
no,
You've already
What
had a
I'm
public
thinking.
hearing. You voted.
yeah,
I wouldn't make
That's
any
right.
motions here or votes
Yeah.
or anything. I'd wait till it gets to town floor. You can, as Buck, you could stand up and make changes
That's what
on a
I'll
straw
do.
vote if you feel supported by the planning board, but this is matters not provided
right.
for.
Okay,
You're not
I
under,
agree.
you
That's
gotta
what
be
I just
careful
got
what
thinking about that, Gordon. Yeah,
what
you're
you
right.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, be very careful.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'd say, anyone have a different idea on what Peter mentioned?
I'm good with it.
Okay. All right. Any other unforeseen issues?
Buck, I wanted to ask, go ahead, Beth. Oh, you were waving goodbye? Oh, I
No,
thought you were waving.
no.
No, she's waving good, but he wants out. She had a tough day.
No,
No,
you
no.
can't go home yet. You are home.
I think the network in Rush is more secure than the one in our town hall. It's-
Oh,
So
yes.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I know everybody wants to go home and be done. But what about the town plan, the master plan? It wasn't on the agenda. What are you going to do about that?
It wasn't. Tom has been on vacation, just came back. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him. I was gonna talk with him, but also that, as you saw today, the webinar,
Yeah,
Beth, I think that could be very beneficial for us. And I'd like to maybe change our next meeting. What's anyone think?
I'd like to attend it. I think it's a very timely presentation.
So it would be the 23rd. 24th would be selectmen's meeting, wouldn't it, or not? No? Or do we just see if we have any agenda items and we go from there? Maybe skip a meeting?
Oh, boy.
I'd really like to talk about the town plan process and get it on the tracks. And if
Okay,
we're
well-
just fresh from a training the next night, I think, or that week, it would be great.
That sounds good. We'll go for Tuesday then, the 24th. Anyone have an issue with that?
Yeah, I won't be able to be there.
I don't think I will either.
25th? Anytime that week?
Nope, 25th I'm out. 24th, yeah, 24th I'm out. 25th I'm out. My Tuesday night golf league is Tuesday nights, of course. And
How about Thursday?
yeah, I could do Thursday.
Okay, I probably couldn't, but that's all right. The 26th, is that it? The 26th?
Yeah.
Is that- Yeah, I can't
mean,
do it. that night.
We want to do the following week, the 31st?
I think it'd be great to have everybody
Matt's
there, so
still out.
maybe we have to
Yeah,
wait a week.
Matt's gone on Tuesdays.
Yeah, every Tuesday,
Well, how about Monday the 30th?
Memorial
It's
Day.
Memorial Day.
And we
You can't
can't,
meet Memorial Day.
Oh, come on.
We did that once before, remember, Buck?
I think I do. Yeah, we
how
go.
about Friday, the 27th?
Oh, how about the
Friday.
31st?
Tuesday, 31st is Tuesday again. It's golf night for Matt.
Do the
Oh,
Tuesday. I don't want to, listen, I don't want to hold it up. Do-
Yeah, but that's all right, man. No, no, no.
Don't
I,
hold it
I
up
think-
for me.
I think we need everybody to attend.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, then do we do it the 6th? And we kind of have two weeks of meetings?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
sounds good.
Okay. So our next meeting will be the 6th. However, if all of us are attending a webinar, do we have to post that also?
I would think so.
Yes,
We
Just to
might
be
want to
safe.
just in case, okay, Beth?
yeah.
Just be safe. And you'll get us the information on that, please? Or you did already, right? Well,
Yeah,
what was-
and so it costs $20 to register. Can you do that for us, Beth? Register us all?
Yeah, so I've been doing these. They're really only about 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh,
And yeah, they're really great. And there's a question and answer at the end, which is really great. I will sign everybody up and use the budget. Like I think I did it with you, Peter,
Yeah.
for the last one. And then what I do is then send you your confirmation and they'll email you a packet when it comes closer to the webinar and the Zoom link. If you have any troubles, just get a hold of me, but I'll sign everybody up tomorrow.
Can we do a planning board meeting at 7 that night?
Exactly. Why don't we do that? I was just
Why don't we
thinking
just do
that
it?
if it's,
And then if anything comes up in the meantime, we can
yeah,
have a quick meeting. We don't have to have a long one, just an hour or something.
we'll try to keep any hot button issues away from it.
Yeah,
My only worry is this will probably be like the one time that this webinar runs late and then we have a meeting posted and we're not there.
And we do, we'll be there. We'll just,
leave early.
Why don't
We'll
you say
keep a very light
7:30?
agenda. Like that'll be our only agenda item.
How
Okay?
about 7:30, just to be safe?
Okay,
Well, then we may have to
Or-
wait around.
Yeah, I would do 7 and just,
Okay, okay.
7. Yep. And when you post it, you could post webinar it starts at 6.
Yep.
And then following will be a meeting. Can we do an approximate 7?
well, I think
Or-
we could do 7. Could Beth maybe sign on to Zoom and then
Yeah.
at 7 and then could always notify
Right.
the people there that we're still in the webinar and we'll be coming there shortly.
That's a good plan.
actually, also, once you register for the webinar, you have access to a recording of it at any time in the future. So if you
Oh,
do have to get out early, we can still finish it.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
oh, that's
sounds
great.
good. All right. So there's the plan.
Good. And did
Thank
everybody
you.
notice that all the minutes are still on the website?
Yeah.
So Beth, what happened? They just, your system goes down and does anybody know why? I mean, or not?
I don't really know why. I mean, it seems like it's happening a lot more often and it's really detrimental to like our day when we have no access to anything.
Right.
It always starts with Outlook. You'll immediately lose your email and you won't
Oh,
have any way to email out. And then immediately then after it's the phone. It's like boom, boom, boom. And then it's always like one office gets it back first and then the next office. And luckily the building department's always last getting it back.
Big government at its best.
Yeah,
But it is a difficult week. I mean, to have it go down, because then when people come back, Even the town clerk, I mean, she has a lot, everybody's got a lot to do, but I mean, the next 2 weeks of the town clerk are really busy and it's, I don't know, it just seems like it's gone down a lot this year, more than other years. And I was just wondering if there was any reason specific why or how, or, I mean, I certainly wouldn't know, but, you know, it is, I think it's like frustrating too for the people that work in town hall, because a lot of people sometimes call town hall and they can't get through and they're wondering what is going on. And it's hard on everybody, that's all.
Beth, I use Outlook sometimes, but I use other servers to get my email. Can you get to your Lee .ma, whatever the town email account through a different kind of service? It's not a Microsoft Outlook. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay.
I think they end up losing everything, internet and everything.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
no communication to the outside world.
They lose everything, yeah.
So but if you sat like with your iPhone, you'd get a cell signal that could communicate. Maybe we should look into getting if this keeps happening, we should look into getting a backup system so we don't lose everything. I mean, we got a big long packet today in the middle of the afternoon. It's not your fault, but boy, that's really asking a lot of volunteers. Okay.
An iPad with or you could even hotspot your phone, a phone,
Yeah,
through a different, portal.
and use Apple Mail to access
Yeah.
the Lee email account.
Well, hopefully they'll fix it up.
I hope so.
Anything else, folks?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, before you fall asleep, I see you yawning there. Tough night, Matt?
No, it's a long day.
Okay. All right.
Bye,
so
everybody.
moved. Night, everyone. Thank you.
Right.
Night.
Good job.
Thank you.